the subscribe button if you don't want me to come at night.
In the stillness of the night, the basement beckoned me towards itself, an irresistible pull that I couldn't ignore. Like a moth drawn to a flame, I found myself descending into the depths of my own home. The wooden stairs creaked under my weight, each groan echoing in the silent void. As I ventured deeper, the mundane world I knew started to fade away, replaced by an atmosphere of cold dampness that sent shivers down my spine. A single naked bulb hung from the ceiling, casting long, creepy shadows that danced along with its flickering light. The smell of mildew and dust filled my nostrils, a testament to the years of neglect this basement had suffered. It was a forgotten space, or so I thought, until I laid my eyes on what lay hidden under a dust-covered sheet. I moved towards it, curiosity piquing. My fingers grazed the coarse fabric, pulling it away to reveal a sight that made my heart pound. There, etched into the stone wall of my basement, were strange symbols. They were not the random scribblings of a child, but intricate designs that held an eerie sense of purpose and intent. A chill ran down my spine as I traced the symbols with my fingers, each line and curve a testament to an unknown, unsettling reality. The symbols were cryptic, their meaning obscured to my untrained eyes. Yet I could feel a strange energy emanating from them, a pulse that seemed to resonate in the very air around me. My breath hitched as the realization dawned upon me. This was not a mere basement. It was a canvas for something otherworldly, a secret that had been slumbering under my home, waiting for the right moment to awaken. The silence of the basement was suddenly stifling, the shadows growing darker and more menacing. The air seemed to thicken, growing heavy with an unseen presence. My heart pounded in my chest, each beat echoing the growing dread that was creeping into my veins. I was not alone in this basement, and the realization sent a jolt of terror coursing through my veins. The symbols, they were alien, yet oddly compelling, like a puzzle begging to be solved. Etched into the cold, hard concrete of the basement floor, they seemed to pulse with an energy that was both eerie and fascinating. Each glyph was like a riddle, wrapped in a mystery inside an enigma. They were a cipher, a code, a key to something I couldn't yet comprehend. I found myself drawn to them, these strange symbols, spending hours hunched over them, tracing their intricate lines with my fingers. They were unlike anything I'd ever seen before, a language of lines and curves that seemed to dance before my eyes. I tried to decipher them, to crack their code. I researched ancient scripts, pored over cryptology books, compared them to every known alphabet, but their meaning remained elusive. Yet every time I attempted to walk away, to leave them be, I felt a pull, an irresistible allure, a magnetic force that drew me back, compelling me to continue my quest for understanding. It was as if they were speaking to me, whispering in a language I couldn't understand but was desperate to learn. The more time I spent with the symbols, the more a sense of unease began to creep in. A feeling of being watched, of not being alone. I could hear whispers in the silence, feel a chill in the air that wasn't there before. The basement, once a sanctuary, was now a place of dread and unease. I began to suspect that these symbols were more than just markings on the floor. They were a doorway, a portal, a bridge to something beyond our understanding. They were connected to the supernatural, the otherworldly, the paranormal. I could feel it in my bones, a truth as cold and hard as the concrete beneath my feet. I could feel eyes on me, unseen and malevolent, as I traced my fingers over the cryptic symbols. The basement was no longer a safe haven, but a place of haunting mystery, a realm of the unknown that I was unwittingly becoming a part of. It was then that the whispers started, soft at first, then louder, like a wind howling through a desolate canyon. The mere silence of the basement was now filled with an eerie symphony of hushed voices, their origins as mysterious as the symbols etched into the cold, clammy walls. The whispers seemed to rise and fall, intertwined with the rhythm of my pounding heart, a spectral chorus that was as fascinating as it was terrifying. These whispers, they were not just sounds, they bore messages, fragments of a chilling tale that seemed to be spun by the very symbols I had uncovered. Each word, each syllable was a shard of ice, a chilling puzzle piece that began to form a terrifying picture. The whispers spoke of a forgotten realm, a place of shadow and malice that lurked in the forgotten corners of the world, just beyond the veil of our reality. They spoke of a presence, an entity that had been trapped, confined within the confines of these symbols, and the echoes of its rage and desperation were now reverberating through the basement. As I listened, the whispers grew louder, more insistent. They echoed the entity's longing for freedom, its desire to break free from the shackles of its symbolic cage. The whispers began to take on a more sinister tone, speaking of the dire consequences should this entity be released. Visions of chaos and destruction, of a world plunged into eternal darkness filled my mind, each word painting a more terrifying picture than the last. Yet, there was a strange allure to these whispers, a morbid curiosity that kept me rooted to the spot, my ears straining to catch every word. It was as if the whispers were not just speaking to me, but speaking through me, using me as a conduit to bridge the gap between their world and mine. Then, without warning, the whispers morphed into a guttural roar, shaking the very foundations of the house. The symbols pulsed with an unholy light, and I could feel a wave of raw, primal energy wash over me. It was a force of such magnitude that it made my blood run cold. I knew then that I had awakened something. The air grew frigid, my breath misting in the air as a formless shadow began to take shape before me. With each passing moment, the shadow solidified, its darkness swallowing the dim light around me. It was as though the very air was being sucked into its form, creating a void of nothingness that sent shivers running down my spine. The entity was unlike anything I'd ever witnessed, a terrifying amalgamation of darkness and fear that seemed to pulsate with a life of its own. It was a formless silhouette, a specter that seemed to ripple and twist, like smoke caught in a bitter wind. Its presence was suffocating, a palpable wave of dread that washed over me, making my heart thunder in my chest. I could feel it probing my mind, its icy tendrils snaking through my thoughts, chilling my very soul. It was a feeling of utter despair, and I was its captive, trapped in my own terror. I could sense its malevolent delight, could almost hear its silent laughter echoing in my head. The entity seemed to feed off my fear, growing stronger with each heartbeat. It was a predator, and I was its prey, a helpless mouse caught in the gaze of a ravenous cat. The air was thick with tension, the silence deafening. It was a standoff, a waiting game, and I was losing. Desperation clawed at me, a primal instinct to fight, to survive. But how do you fight a nightmare? How do you combat a shadow? My mind raced, a whirlwind of terror and confusion. The entity shifted, its formless face morphing into what could only be described as a grotesque semblance of a smile. It was a chilling sight, a mockery of human emotion that sent waves of revulsion coursing through me. The encounter was a nightmare come to life, a horrifying spectacle that would haunt my dreams for years to come. I was facing a supernatural entity, a creature of darkness and malice that seemed to revel in my fear. It was a nightmarish encounter that had me questioning my sanity, my reality. I could see it, a specter of darkness and malice, its formless face twisted into a grotesque semblance of a smile. I knew I had to escape, to get away from this abomination that had been summoned from the depths of the basement. In the pit of my stomach, a primal fear was unleashed, a fear that turned my legs to jelly but also gave them a strength I didn't know I possessed. With a strangled gasp, I turned and bolted, the entity's guttural growl reverberating through the room, a monstrous echo from a nightmare. Each step I took was a desperate plea for survival, my heart pounding like a drum in my chest. The entity was close behind, its presence seething, a chilling reminder of the terror that lurked within the shadows of my own home. Its pursuit was relentless, a horrifying game of cat and mouse where I was the terrified prey. The house, once a sanctuary, had become a maze of nightmare, each corner turned, a gamble between safety and a face-to-face encounter with the entity. The air was thick with an otherworldly energy, the walls seemed to close in, and the entity's laughter, a sound that would haunt my dreams, echoed around me. My lungs screamed for air, my muscles ached with exertion, but the thought of stopping, of giving in, was far worse than any physical pain. Finally, the front door loomed before me, a beacon of hope amidst the terror. With one last surge of adrenaline, I flung it open, the cool night air a sweet reprieve from the stifling atmosphere inside. Stepping outside was like crossing an invisible barrier. The house behind me was a fortress of horror, but here, under the starlit sky, I was safe. The entity could not follow, trapped within the confines of the house, its power seemingly bound to the strange symbols in the basement. Yet, even as relief washed over me, a cold shiver ran down my spine. The entity was still there, lurking in the shadows, waiting for the next unsuspecting soul to venture into the basement. As I slammed the front door shut behind me, I could still hear the entity's chilling laughter echoing from the basement.
Hit the subscribe button if you don't want me to come at night.